Okay.
So let's remove a word. We've already removed what word? Hard.
Hard.
Let's remove one more. Can't.
Right. Yeah, let's remove can't.
All right.
I'm curious because I know that there was a part of your life whenever you battled cancer.
It's a big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's interesting because when you go through an experience, I'm a leukemia survivor. I had hairy cell leukemia here in Houston. MD Anderson saved my life, along with a lot of people, caretakers, along with my personal higher source of power. I'm a Christian. I believe in God and Jesus, and that's a big part of my life and the life that was rebirth to me. Mm-hmm. I feel like cancer is a metaphor for life, and I've never stopped battling it. Mm-hmm. I've never stopped with the demons in my head saying I'm not good enough, or I'm not going to get a role, or I'm not going to get a hit, or I'm not going to get this, or all that. That's all a lie. It's all a lie. I don't believe all of that. That's the enemy telling you that you're a failure. So, and that's not true. The truth is you are. And so I got cancer at the age of 33, Jesus' age, and was here in town in Houston, Texas, from Los Angeles. I'd been living in Los Angeles. Okay. And I was feeling poorly. And I wasn't taking very good care of myself, and I was in Hollywood, and I was struggling to get work, and I had came back for a job here in Texas. I got hired for a job in Texas. That's how it was going. I would work in Texas, live in Los Angeles. And I came back and I was not well. I had a terrible hack, and I was thin and frail and jaundiced. I was yellow. And my friend who I was staying with recognized and said, you're and he wasn't some nervous Nelly, he was a dude. He just said, you look terrible. I have to take you to the hospital. And I said, I'm not going to the hospital, because used to be the guys were like this. I don't, today I think we're all better aware of taking care of ourselves. But back in my day, you take your car to the shop before you take yourself to a hospital to get checked up. Because what if they found out you had cancer? That's not what you wanted to hear. And lo and behold, they took me in. I went kicking and screaming, saying, I'm not going to spend the night. Well, I didn't. I spent 8 months trying to
8 months?
survive. Yeah, fighting for my life in cancer. And I was so sick with things like pneumonia and liver failure and kidney failure and all manner of things besides cancer. They couldn't even get me healthy enough to start treating the cancer. And so it took them a long time to put weight on me and all this stuff that I had experienced. And so what's a great lesson to that is I never know whether to lead with this or end with it, but at some point it's going to come in the middle. When you're healthy, you have a million dreams. When you're unhealthy, you have one dream. And so that was the thing. So I was so sick, I didn't know how sick I was. My parents were brought in to say goodbye. Last rites were given. It was really desperate. And I remember a guy coming into my room, and so often when you're in that state, people are in and out of your rooms, from nurses to doctors to different specialists, and then they send around this group called Cancer Care, and they just have people that come in and talk to you. And this is where we get to the good stuff. This man comes in, and he's dressed in black, and it's a beautiful February Houston day, and the sun's bouncing through the window, and he said, I hear you're struggling. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm doing very well. He said, it's all right. He said, are you ready? And I said, yeah, not sure what he meant, but I assumed he was talking about that I'd be leaving soon. And He said, how you fixed for later on, the afterlife. It's so funny, he didn't say any of it, but I took him to I knew what he was talking about. He said, will you pray with me? We can get you ready to go. And I said, yeah. I said, I can. So he said a prayer over me, and the light came blazing into my room. I was levitated from my bed, or so it felt. I've never felt so burden free. And all of a sudden, the fright, the care, the fear of dying, the burden of living, what is this going to cost, this hospital bill, all of it was gone. In that moment, it was taken away from me. And from that moment on, I stopped trying to beat cancer. I stopped, and I started enjoying that minute, knowing that it could be my last, that day, that 2 days. All right, I got 2 days. I'm on a winning streak here. Maybe I can wake up tomorrow and live. I could have 3. I started really appreciating all of it. It just was stripped away, and I started to recover, and I started to kind of get well, and now I'm like, you know, and now, wow, your cancer's in remission. You're healthy. My kidneys, I was just that close to dialysis. They've kicked back in. They're working. In the hospital, you're there that long, you're exposed to everything. I mean, you know, I think they're pretty good at recognizing things. They came in one day and started screaming at me as if I couldn't hear, and my heart was racing. It was at 180, and it was going to blow up, and my heart had been attacked by this virus, and they brought me in, and they had to stop my heart. They had to give me sodium pentothal to shut me down, to, you know, kill me and to remove the air from my heart. They had to let it rest, and then they bring the paddles in and bring you back, you know. And so all of these things, I had a blood clot in my groin. They had to put in a trap so that it didn't go up into my lungs. I mean, I went through a lot of physical, and through it all, Julie, I never, you know, I'm a physical guy, and I like working out. You're a physical person, you like working out, and somewhere I was given the gift of observation, and I recognized I'm not going to be able to jog 2 miles and get rid of cancer. I'm not going to be able to work out and get rid of this. And I watched people in my cancer ward at MD Anderson pass away because they were in denial of what it was. So I recognized right away, I can't be in denial of this. I'm ashamed that I have it at such a young age. I'm ashamed that I'm putting everyone who loves me through this.
You were ashamed? I
was ashamed of it. I thought that I was worthless to be in this situation. But
did you think you brought it on somehow?
Oh, absolutely I brought it on. Oh, absolutely I brought it on.
How?
Through that level of competitiveness, through that level of I'll show you, I'll show the world, through that level of I'm going to win. It's no way to live, I think. Maybe if I'm going to love, maybe that would have been better. And I think I was so in denial of who I was and the stress of what I was experiencing. I had just gone through a breakup with a woman that I had been dating for 9 years, and I was going to show her and go to Hollywood and become a big actor, and I'll show her, or boy, if I got sick, she'd be sad. If I got killed, she'd be sad out here on this highway driving to LA. That'd fix her. Yeah, I asked for it. But the good Lord gave me a second chance and said, you might take note of this, and you might learn a lesson. and I recovered, and so you're in remission. That's a 5-year no money back guarantee. That just means for 5 years, if you can stay in this state where it doesn't come back for 5 years, then you're cancer free. But remission is just buyer beware. and it came back, and that, sorry to point, they tell me now that pointing is the least liked physical habit that we do.
I'm way more interested in the story. I didn't even
Sorry to
notice
break it up.
Didn't even notice you were pointing.
Up the, I go back through in a remission because I beat cancer, and I was thrilled, and I was living. I told you that I prime every morning. Mm-hmm. Priming is getting your day started. I do the Tony Robbins thing with a breathing exercise. We talked about Wim Hof. I try to connect to goodness, that's to God. I recognize in gratitude. And then Tony offers all the time, connect with something that makes you very happy. Getting out of the hospital, another February, a year later, day, being cancer-free, being in a wheelchair, wheeled out, and getting into a car and out onto the freeway in Houston in a traffic jam was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, with the sun beaming off these cars and just the color. I'd never seen colors like that, and just cars all around me in the sun, and it was just, and so I connect with that feeling every morning for gratitude and joy, and then that's where I'm going to take the rest of my day, into that joy spot. But it came back, and I was really depressed, into depression, because I hadn't beaten it, had I? And they brought in psychologists, they brought in therapists to help me, and I could never connect with it. But I wasn't in a place that I had never been capable of understanding that place.
You had never felt that
depression,
that type of depression, or
no.
Ever? You've never felt? Okay, wow.
And so,
I mean, for them to bring
a
in
large part of it was the chemical imbalance hormonally through all the chemo and radiation that I'd had. A big part of it was that mental. Clearly, if I was ashamed of it, there was something. One of the things that I didn't do was deny that I was sick. That's what saved my life, because then I coped with it. I recognized right away that I needed to deal with pain. I gave pain a color. For any of you out there that are physically hurting with the pain, I'd recommend, we tell our kids, don't think about it. Try not to think about where it hurts. You know what? Think about it. Focus on it. Give it a color. Close your eyes. Make it purple. Go to that place in your abdomen that it hurts, that it burns. Give it the color and focus on it, and bring blood to it to heal it. Bring healing cells to it. Focus on it to make it better, and you'll get a better result. I recognized that cancer was living in me and it wasn't my enemy, it was part of me. I recognized that it was trying to live just like I was. I also recognized that we couldn't both survive. So when we killed cancer with chemo and radiation, a part of me was being killed and dead. And I honor that part that didn't come through the woods. I honor the cancer that died, that brought me and gave up its life to give me a new perspective. And so the depression took me a long time. They have what's called survivor's guilt, because I was in a ward where I saw children not recover from leukemia, and it broke my heart. And why am I here? Yeah. And it took me years to figure out, this is why I'm here, talk about it. And I think about cancer differently now because of the perspective and the experience. And not that it was so scary, but that it was such an adventure, that I got such an experience from it that I like to share. And I recognize, and I got my faith back, or and so that's been a huge part of my life. Now, that being said, there's times when you live through that, and when you complain about being in a traffic jam, or that they got your coffee order wrong, or that you're not making a living doing something, you feel a little guilty and ashamed for being upset about anything, right?
Yeah.
But we're only human, so yeah, I get it. But that's a big perspective. We could have done a whole talk on that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I think if you're, I always say cancer's not a 4-letter word. I think it's a six-letter word. It's so curable. It's so doable. We're so good at coming through. You can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. It's built for you to get help. Which brings me to my next little hack.
What's that?
Hack is like a little shortcut or trick to make you feel better. And that is ask for help. Do you know somebody who might be able to finance my company? Would you be able to finance my company? Would you like to get involved as an investor? Or maybe you know somebody who will. That's a really difficult place to be. That's a difficult thing to do, but that's exactly what is required. That is exactly what you're here to do, is to ask for help. Ask for direction.
Yeah, it's so true.
And that's I do think that today's generation's particularly good at that. That's why we have so many great entrepreneurs now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, but then after you were diagnosed, and then you came out of remission, and then
back through treatment again.
Yes, back through treatment again. Where have you then stayed in remission?
Yes,
okay.
Thankfully.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, thankfully.
And so my leukemia was actually discovered here in Houston. It's called hairy cell leukemia, and because the cells have little hairs on the outside and they look hairy. But it was named here at MD Anderson. It was discovered. It wasn't the first. I wasn't the first case, but it's kind of a rare.
Yeah. Right.
And so that was an experience. I can't even explain.
Then
but I tried
it's a true
to.
miracle that you're alive.
I think.
Yeah, it really
and
is.
so if it's a miracle, what else is? Everything. And so if you can't believe in miracles, then what are you doing? And so that's another thing. Like, I don't believe in them, I expect them.
Well, and then you went on to then have a very successful movie career.
That was, when I laid in that hospital bed, all I thought about was when I was going to get out and just go hide. I wanted to hide. I wanted to go away and not be around people or be around anyone that had cared for me and hoped that I lived. But that wasn't what the deal was. The deal was for me to get better and to help everyone else get better. And happiness in my faith, I think, is built on two things. So says my pastor: rejoice, and do good. And doing good, I think, up to the point, my baseball career and starting acting and doing good, man, I do good. I'm going to go out and win. But then after cancer, I started to realize, do good doesn't mean for me to do good, for me to have success. Do good means to do good things for you, to do good for humanity, to do good for life. Rejoice, be happy, and do good. And so that is also not, it's difficult. I find today, more than any time in my life, it rejoiced being difficult. And I've had two great careers that anyone would love. Why would I not be happy? Why?
Well, you just go through times though where
So it
I mean, don't you think that, we can all, I feel like in some ways this is the best time of my life. This is truly the happiest I've ever been, because I'm a person that's lived with mental health issues over most majority of my life. With a lot of help and resources and all the things that I've done, I've finally gotten to this place where, I know I'm truly blessed. And there's days where, I just have them, and I allow myself to have them.
It's good that you don't judge yourself for them, and you forgive.
And it's doing what you said earlier, which is recognizing it. Okay, I'm having a day where I'm feeling pretty sad right now. Let's recognize it. Put a color to it. I haven't done that, but I'm going to start doing that. Yeah. Just recognizing it and not shaming it. And because in some ways, I just feel so blessed to even be alive, in my own way. But to not shame anything about the way I live, because as long as I'm rejoicing and you're doing the things that you're saying, and being a good person and putting out good things, we are human, and we're going to have days that we don't feel like we are at our best.
I think the blame, shame, and lying game is so easy, and most of us do it. Well, I couldn't because, and it didn't work out because they wanted a dark-haired guy, or they wanted this 6'2" guy, or they wanted this guy that was a really good actor, or that's BS. That's blame, shame. And if you can source your life out to accountability, what's my part in this? What's bothering me? Is it not a lesson? Cancer. Is it not a lesson? She left me. Is it not light and love in there? Is there not something to be learned? Is there not something to be gifted here? And how can I move forward with it? Just sticking with the Bible a minute, one of my favorite stories, my favorite Bible story is the loaves and fishes, which is, hey, Jesus, we got this big concert. It's great. The thing is, we didn't invite any food trucks, and nobody brought the caterer, and we didn't tell people to pack the lunch, so we're kind of stuck. Okay. The very first thing Jesus says is, what do you have? And one of the disciples goes, this lady sent her son out. Come here, boy. He's got 5 loaves. And what do you got, 2 fish? Yeah, my mom said to go out because maybe I could sell these. I don't know. I was playing my video game, but she said get out of the house and go sell some loaves of bread and fishes. Okay, so what do you have? 5 loaves. Give me what you have. Let's go to work. And that's what God says first to you every time. What do you have? Okay, I've got 23 cents. All right, give it to me. Give me what you have. I have depression. Give me what you have. I have addiction. Give me what do you have? Hope. I like that. All right, let's go to work. And he feeds the multitude. Let's start breaking bread. You only got 5. We'll be all right. Let me work a miracle. Why? Because I can. Okay. Holy cow, we fed everyone. We're tired. Let's get out of here. Take a boat ride. They no sooner go out in the boat. Oh my God, the storms. Oh, Jesus, help us. We're going to sink. Wait, you're still brushing crumbs off from the bread you just ate, which was a miracle. Okay, and yet ye of little faith. I know, but we're gonna. Okay, do you believe this? I want to, but no. All right, let's go through this again. So I love that.
Love that.
And I love. What do you have? Because most times when you answer that honestly, you got a lot. Most times, and always it's going to be okay. Always be okay. always going to be okay. And those aren't easy places to be in life, because we just keep getting, blown in the torments of life. But they're great, because we look for lessons in all of those experiences, and we get better at them. I've tried to, one of the other word games I play, I try to switch, we've talked about this, problem to practice. I got a problem with my utility bill. I'm cranking my air conditioning and it is high. And all of a sudden, what? Oh, well, now that's a practice.
Especially after the summer.
That's a practice as opposed to a problem. I got to practice with my bank account. It's a little low and it's okay. I like the dialogue, worry is just wishing for what you don't want. You worry about your finances, you're wishing for that to come into your life. Quit worrying. Anyway, I digress. Where are we?
No, I love thank you for bringing up that story in the Bible. It was beautiful. I love the way you presented that. I like that.
Yeah,
but no, I think right now we are, I would just love, I know you already told us what your morning looks like, but what are the resources that you use? And maybe there's
great.
Some that they recommended when you were in the hospital when you were going through depression.
Return to Love is a great book. It's a lot of work, but it's a great book, and it's a great practice, and I would recommend it a lot. For those of you that are thinking about just improving your lifestyle, I think you can't beat Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which is a real book about affirmation and understanding practices, what you can do, what you literally can do. I got started on this journey a few years ago, just before the pandemic. I'm going to say 2017. At Sundance, I had a film there, and I was there, and I met a guy who had this little program called Bulletproof Coffee. It was Dave Asprey, and he's kind of built this bulletproof lifestyle, and there's a book called Game Changers that I adore, and I liked it. I typically always read, but this particular book I listened to because he does some of the narration, and it's really, I think, applicable to life. It's great. So he has the 4 words that if you remove, your life can improve. One of which is can't. You can't lift a car. I can get a jack and lift a car. I can't get there in time. I could charter a plane. I missed my flight, but I could drop $25,000 and go charter a plane. I could borrow some money to get what I need done. You can. I mean, there is a way to do almost anything, right? So let's try to remove can't. Bad. Nothing's inherently bad. Not even cancer we just talked about. Bad is your take. That's you're implementing a judgment on something. That's bad. Eggplant is bad. That's you, and that you're putting that. But eggplant doesn't come to us inherently bad, right? Try. I'm not a big. I'm going to try to get here by 2. Well, that gives me a window to show up at 3. That's a lie. Try is a lie. So remove that. And there's one more. Can't, bad, try, and we tried. Hard was one of my own. What is the 4th one? Anyway, Dave Asprey. We'll get look it up. That's your assignment. Find the 4th word. Dave Asprey led me on to that, which took me to Bob Proctor. I met an interesting guy. I got invited to a sports event for ESPN. It was a barbecue hosted by a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary Vee. He's kind of a motivational guy online, and Gary Vee has a lifestyle, and he's real kind of in your face. He's very aggressive, maybe even more so than like Joe Rogan. And so, but there I met another guy named Dave Meltzer, and Dave Meltzer has a real interesting the road to revenue and happiness. And so I like dropping into him. He's got a thing called the Breakfast Club, which is free on Fridays for an hour. He goes through a lot of, and he's taught me things like stop, drop, and roll, which is when you wake up in the morning, set your priorities of what you want to do today. What is it that you want? I want no obstacles. I want no corrosion in my approach, and I'd like to help 100 people. I'd like to have $1,000 show up that I can give away 500 of it and put 500 to whatever my resource is. So that's a point in time where no one's asking you to get me breakfast, no one's asking you to turn in your paper. That's a place, what I say, I prime, I connect to goodness, I find gratitude, and I think about what I want, what I must be. I can be what I must be, and I think about what I must be. For me, that's a series regular on the television show right now. I think about that, and then that's a really good state that I leave my space in the morning and go out to do battle with the world. Now, I get in a car accident or I get in an argument with somebody for whatever reason. That sounds weird to get in an argument, right? And I start to catch up on fire. I get angry. I get exasperated.
Stop, drop, and roll.
I get depressed. Well, what do you do when you catch fire?
Stop, drop, and roll.
Stop. Stop that. Stop crying. Stop being mad. Stop. Drop back down. Drop that emotion. That is not true. That is ego. And roll back to that place in the morning that you started. That's your state that you want to maintain.
Somebody wrote this?
Yeah, that's Meltzer. Yeah, Dave Meltzer. Stop, drop, and roll.
I wrote that in something, but I've never read his stuff, so I had no idea. But that's what I was telling myself. Anyway,
great.
Yeah,
great. And so I try to connect with that. A great thing. I'll give you a challenge. Try to say thank you when you wake up every morning. It takes 0.1 seconds apparently. Thank you. And if you can do it 2 days in a row, see if you can do it 3 days in a row. And that's called a streak. And if you can do it 3 days in a row, you might start building a habit. And what are the habits? When I said I must be, what are the habits that you're doing towards your must? And in order for your must, you must have a successful wellness community. Why? You should know your why. You should know what your why is, okay? Why are you doing this? And then the how takes care of itself. You never have to answer that, because if you know your must and you know your why, how comes in naturally. It's a perfect balance, okay? So those are two things that seldom you ask yourself, but start. Thank you every morning. If you can get that as a habit before you get up, try it before you go to bed. Now you got it on both ends of gratitude, and I think you'll sleep through the night. Those are some of the things I do. I do like the Asprey books. I'm into some of the hacks that are reasonable. A lot of them I can't afford. I'm not sure I can afford the ice bath, the cryogenic freezing. I do think about mitochondria in your stomach.
But you can still take a cold shower in your house.
Good
there's
thinking.
Things that you can do.
Absolutely.
If you can't, I'm right there with you. I don't do the baths or whatever, but try and take a cold shower every morning. And there's so much at the resources that are right there in your home that you can do.
Yeah, there's all manner of things in your the good sleep, health. There's activities.
But it does take practice and making it a habit, and that takes time too. And I think the biggest thing is just don't beat yourself up about it. Don't shame yourself if you can't do it every day. If you miss a day, that's okay. Start the next day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Are you a journaler? Are you a gratitude journaler? Do you journal and do you write what you might be grateful for today?
I say what I'm grateful for every day. I don't write. I like to write, but I'm not a daily writer.
Yeah, I'm a daily writer, and I do that, and I recognize that it's become a habit.
But verbally, I do it, and I would do it with my kids too.
Yeah, and so those are those are fun, and so it starts to you start finding joy in it. I think the self-help becomes a joyful journey, as opposed. Well, look, I'm going to be honest with you. Until I got engaged with it, I was angry. I was angry things weren't working out the way I wanted them to, and I was upset about it, and I was unpleasant about it, and I was brooding, and I got dark, and that's not really who I want to be. And then I started to be able to deal with rejection, which is what my game is. I'm basically rejected mainly, and I've had to build a process for rejection, and I thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, that's great. And, I think that some people are able to use every single self-help resource out there and it works for them. But if you're not, and that's not, I want to say this, there were times in my life it was useful and it worked, but there was times in my life when I had to go get help, and that's okay too.
Interesting.
Like, I needed to go to therapy. I couldn't help myself. I was in a place where if you break your arm, you have to go to the doctor. If you're suffering from a terminal illness, you have to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
I had to go to the doctor. My life depended on it.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's preventative. So if you get to a point where it just doesn't feel like self-help isn't working for you for like a couple of weeks and you can't get out of a funk and you're not getting out of bed easily every day, then that's it. There's so many resources out there, the telehealth or the therapist that you can find. So I do believe along with self-help, therapy can also really change your life.
Yeah, I've never done it, but I've more recently recognized that I should. But I guess I'm a little nervous that I would be this guy to the therapist. I would be telling them here, and have you ever done this? Because I do this. This seems to help pretty good. You might try this with some of your patients. Look, Mr. Temple, let's get to the subject of the matter. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Here's where I tell you this, and
we say physical health, and everybody, is jumping for joy, like
to the gym. Everyone's jumping physically.
Jumping physically, and if you tell your friends, and they're thrilled for you, and they're excited that you're working on your physical health, and we say mental health, and then everybody's pumping the brakes. We don't want to help our mental health, and
it becomes a weakness.
Yeah, instead of a strength. And I think it's an absolute strength.
Yeah.
And it serves you.
How do you find a mental health? How do you know if this person isn't just? How do I couch this? How do I know this person is right for me?
Well, it's like any doctor. You might need a second opinion. And so it's fine. I would say we all. Just as you start to get to know people, sometimes you instantly know that you want to go hang out with that person. And sometimes you're like, oh, that person's nice, but I don't really care to go engage with them, right? It's the same thing with a therapist or a doctor or whoever you choose to go find.
Yeah.
You can say, that just didn't feel right, or that seems like the person for me. And if you go a couple of times and you're still unsure, it's okay to go get a second opinion. That's what you do. That's what you would do if you went and something was physically wrong with you. You do the same thing until you find the doctor or a therapist that works for you. Okay,
so you can, but you don't just take it for face value. Like, well, it's a therapist,
luckily we can read so much on their website or from reviews, and so and word of mouth is huge. A lot of the person that I see is word of mouth. I think every therapist I've used is word of mouth. But
I've never played a therapist, but I think I'd like to. I mean, do they?
I mean, I think it's the rage right now. It seems like
yeah. I used to like that show, Frasier.
Maybe that's what you need to start. Yeah, that's right.
He was a therapist,
you
right?
need to start auditioning for a therapist role.
I'm gonna only audition for therapists. Heck with this cowboy stuff. All right.
Lew, thank you so much for joining us today.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a good conversation.
Yeah. I can't wait to go see the movie Corsicana.
I'm excited for you to see it because it has a lot of mental anguish in it, and if my character could have had a little more self-help focus, I think that he might not have gone down the path of ill repute. But this has been great. You're great at what you do. I just want it to be serviceable to your community and the community being built, and what is it that we get healthier together? We are healthier together. I like that.
Yeah, that's right.
That is a great spirit. And remember, it's not easy. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be great. Get into that more than enough headspace if you can. There's not enough, there's just enough. Get into that 1%er, there's more than enough, because there actually is. It's crazy.
I love that. There's more than enough. Thank you.
Yeah, that's true.
I want to thank you again for joining us at Speak as One, and please like, subscribe, and share these with your friends, and we'll see you next time.